We're slowly getting ourselves into the period of the season where the teams start to show, really, who they are for the first time, and we start to see the true colours of each player. So, with a month in the season already in the books, it feels kind of right to look at the major MVPs for each team with just over a month or so in the season gone. Yes, it might be reactive, yes, it might be a little bit early, but let's be honest, it's quite fun to see who's been the best performer for every single team, even if some of them haven't actually been players. So let's not waste any time and let's talk baseball. Good afternoon and good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Baseball. I'm your host Tom Skulls, and as per usual we will be looking at the Athletics 30 power rankings of Major League Baseball, but this time it has a bit of a twist about it. No longer are we going to be talking just about the teams and what's happened in the past couple of days since we last spoke about this, but instead we're going to evaluate who has been the MVP of each team so far. So without further ado, let's get stuck in to number 30 on this list, the Chicago White Sox. Yeah, as I said in the intro, not all of these picks are going to be players, and we're going to start off with one of those picks, where, as the Athletic have given the 1 month MVP of the Chicago White Sox, is the Campfire Milkshake. And the Campfire Milkshake is number one because so far it has been the only positive thing that anybody has had to say about the south side of Chicago side. Now, it's a Campfire Milkshake, which is described as a decadent chocolate milkshake topped with whipped cream, a toasted marshmallow, graham crackers. You guys call them graham crackers. There's a H in there. It's graham crackers. And chocolate pieces. And it's gone viral and become one of the few selling points to actually attending a White Sox game. Now, it has been extremely bleak for that team, but let's be honest. If there is one thing that can get everybody in the mood and in the spirits, it is a Campfire Milkshake. So that is the MVP of the White Sox for the first month of the season. Going for the Miami Marlins, they've gone for Trevor Rogers. He's been again another bleak start to the season for another bleak franchise who did well last year and had the makings of a good team. And I know Sandy Alcantara's out for the season, but they have been horrific so far. They have been dreadful. And they don't really care, and I think that's the worst thing. So they've given theirs to Trevor Rogers. He's in a large tie for second among Marlins in position players WAR. The worst thing about it is the only position player north of 0.0 WAR for the Marlins this season has been Jazz Chisholm Jr. Trying to find an MVP for this team has been like finding a needle in a haystack. The Rockies are still there in 28th with Brenton Doyle. Number 27, the LA Angels. Their MVP of the season so far has been someone that is probably going to miss 90% of the season. Mike Trout. In a previous episode, I spoke about Mike Trout and his legacy and whether or not he needs to win a ring to be classed as one of the greatest of his generation or one of the greatest of all time. And I furiously disagreed with it. I think he's already in that category. However, yet another injury has hit him. And the feeling amongst everybody in the world of baseball the other day when this news was announced was nothing but sadness. Because Mike Trout is on the verge of becoming one of the greatest what-if players in American sports history. He has been simply sensational for almost his entire career. And then injuries have plagued him and robbed him of certain accolades and have robbed him from really playing a whole lot of baseball in the last couple of years. At the time of this piece, it said Mike Trout leads the league in home runs. He's stealing bases and playing fine in centre field. This is obviously written before the injury, and it ends with, the Angels aren't going anywhere, but Trout is healthy and awesome again. Let's not overthink this. So if you want anybody to blame for this, blame that piece. I'm going to get up Mike Trout. I'm going to Twitter and talking about Mike Trout. Also, whilst it's just popped up now, every time Stephen A talks about baseball, it's literally the worst imaginable take, but this might take the cake as his worst ever. That's not me saying that, that's an account on Twitter called Baseball Quotes 1, at Baseball Quotes 1. Whilst I may have literally said it, his words, and I agree with him. He essentially said that Mike Trout's injury is karma for staying with the Angels for so long. What the hell are you doing to take care of yourself? Always injured. I mean, damn, it's baseball. What are we talking about here? It's not football. It's not boxing. It's not the UFC. Stephen A. Smith doesn't understand a damn thing he says about this sport. Stephen A. Smith doesn't even understand a damn thing about basketball. And that's fine. But when he's got the platform he has, ESPN clearly don't care about the coverage of sports. They just want people like me and people online to react to him. And well done, it's worked. But to not understand why Mike Trout is injured is just stupidity to the highest level. Stephen A. Smith is an embarrassment of a broadcaster. He's entertaining. He's fun if you don't take it seriously. But his lack of knowledge is evident when you literally hear him speak about anything. ESPN should be ashamed of themselves for paying him as much as they do when you see some of the other analysts they have on their network, like Mina Kimes for the NFL, Dan Orlovsky for the NFL, JJ Redick for the NBA. That's just three names who are very fun to listen to, who are entertaining, but also provide you an insight of, one, the tactical side of the game, but also in two of the three cases, they give you an experience of what it's like to actually play the sport and in the situation of the mind of the players. They'll understand why players will get hurt. If you ask a baseball player about Mike Trout's injury, they will understand why he's getting hurt. Forget Stephen A. Smith, the guy's a bum. All he's known for are memes, and that's about it. If it wasn't for the memes, who'd notice him anymore? Jay Hay from the Baseball is Dead podcast tweeted out the other day, and I found it quite interesting. For the better part of a decade, Mike Trout was tracking to be arguably the greatest player since integration. That's a thing of the past, and he listed all of his career WAR, age by age. Up until the age of 29, he was either first or tied first in WAR in the league. He then drops to third 2 years in a row, and then last year, at the age of 31, he is sixth. What we have seen with Mike Trout is a deterioration of a player who has been riddled by injuries and who, yes, he's been on a poor team. Yes, he's been unlucky with the situation he's found himself in, but we can't discredit him for wanting to be loyal because there are many other factors as to why you would stay with the Angels. They're not for us to discuss. There are things only he and his family and people around him will know. But Mike Trout will become one of, if not the biggest, what if in American sports if things carry on. I'm excluding players that have been taken out of leagues for non-sporting / injury reasons. So there are certain NFL tight ends who used to play for the NFL, who's played for the New England Patriots rather, who are disqualified from this conversation for obvious reasons. Former players from the Las Vegas Raiders who were involved in serious car accidents are out of this conversation. I'm talking strictly about players who have been struck by injury and who showed levels of greatness up until a point in time, and you can track to what would happen if certain things had gone differently for him. Mike Trout has the comparisons to Harry Kane in the Premier League. I don't normally like the cross-American European sport comparisons, but at the end of the day, they are kind of there. The difference is Harry Kane got out of his situation. Mike Trout looks set to be stuck in his for the rest of his career. Hopefully that is a while, but at least we got to see him at his peak. 26, the Oakland Athletics. Their MVP is Mason Miller. I love this guy. I think this guy's a great pitcher. What an incredible pitcher this guy is. The Oakland A's are a pretty dire franchise at the moment. But ultimately, what's happening is we are seeing a team that is playing better than I think a lot of people expected them to. They have a pretty decent record given how poor the team is. And let's be honest, Mason Miller and Paul Blackburn have been pretty damn good. I wouldn't be surprised if come All-Star break time, at least one of them is in the team. Mason Miller is becoming a guy that is, I don't want to say appointment television just yet, because it's very hard for a relief pitcher to be appointment television. But when he played the Yankees, and as you know, looking at the hat, I watched them more than any other. When he played them at the Yankee Stadium the other week, and he blew away our lineup with over 100 miles an hour pitches, that's when it made me stand up and notice and go, okay, this guy's the real deal. I'd heard about him, but actually watching him against your team makes you go, oh, this guy is a hell of a player. So it's a correct pick to have him as the MVP, and someone is going to trade for him near the deadline. Again, the A's are going to get an absolute haul for him. I'm really looking forward to it. The Nationals in 25th are up next. CJ Abrams is their MVP. Makes total sense. Jared Jones for the 24th place Pirates. Again, makes sense. The Cardinals, Sonny Gray. He leads the team in wins. He's got a ERA of 1.16. Fantastic start from him. Again, a player that I think has been tarnished by his stint with the Yankees to an extent, where a lot of people will look at him and kind of go, oh, well, he couldn't do this, and they couldn't do that. Sometimes situations just don't work out. And maybe for Sonny Gray it was that situation. Maybe he didn't get on with the pitching coach at the time. Maybe he didn't settle in the area. Maybe he just didn't like the pressure that came with it. And that's fine. Not everybody is the same. But there's no doubting that the guy is a top class pitcher. And I'm really, really glad to see him doing well. Really glad. The Padres, they were given Dylan Cease as their one-month MVP. I back it. He's been as good as expected. He's got at least 6 innings in each of his 5 past starts, with the rest of the rotation has done that 7 times total. Again, top player. Another top pitcher that has been given to the San Francisco Giants at 21. Logan Webb, their ace, one of the best pitchers in the league. And he's one of those in a very, very rare category of making it look like an art form. You look at some pitchers and you feel uncomfortable watching them. You feel him and you watch him and you just know it's going to be good. It's going to be fun to watch, and it's going to be like watching a master at his craft. So quite rightly, the 1-month MVP of the San Francisco Giants is Logan Webb. No one else it could have been. They've given Reed Garrett Mets MVP after in 20th place. Fantastic player. Fantastic pitcher. He's the first reliever in half a century with 5 wins by May 1st. Not because he's a vulture, because he's a raptor capable of excelling in every climb. He's covered the middle innings, he's covered extra innings, he's covered your usual high-leverage bridge innings, he's covered 9th innings in save situations, and he's done all of those with, surely this is a misprint, 47% strikeout rate. What else can you say? Fantastic pick, and it makes total sense. The Astros, there was only one person that could go to, and that was Jose Altuve. He's the only person that's actually performing well for the team. He's 34 in May. He's a lock for Cooperstown. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. And I tell you what, there's going to be a conversation coming around soon with Altuve. There's going to be a conversation coming around with him that if you put all your biases aside, put all your anti-Astros agendas and rhetoric to one side and just look purely at the player and what he's accomplished, he's going to be in chat for the greatest second baseman of all time by the end of his career, if he carries on the pace he is. And let's be honest, he's probably worthy of the conversation. Now, whether he's in that conversation for you is subjective. It's entirely up to you. But I'll tell you what, the Bleach Report back in February last year did a piece entitled Jose Altuve, Chase Utley, and the 25 greatest second basemen in modern MLB history. And let's get to where they've got it. Who's number one? Who have they got number one? This was last year. They have Altuve 10th, Jeff Kent 9th, Chase Utley 8th, Bobby Grich 7th, Lou Whitaker 6th, Craig Biggio 5th, Ryan Sandberg 4th, Roberto Alomar 3rd, Rod Carew 2nd, and Joe Morgan at number 1. That's just from the modern era. In their number 15 to 11, they have Ian Kinsler, DJ LeMahieu, Dustin Pedroia, Willie Randolph, and Robinson Cano. I don't know. I'm looking at some of them players, and in my head, I won't lie, I'm looking at it thinking Altuve might be better than a lot of them. I don't think it's that far off, to be honest. I don't think it's that much of a, oh my god, what a thing to say. By the end of his career, he could easily be as good as them guys. But I feel like that's a talking point for another day. Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals, of course. What a player. He's going to be the face of the league in not too long. An absolute fantastic player. The Tigers, who they've got Tariq Skubal as their MVP. He's probably going to win Cy Young at this rate. Fantastic player. Ketel Marte for the Diamondbacks is 16th. I did notice as well the whole B incident with the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. And I tell you what, I love this game. I love this sport. You wouldn't see that anywhere else. It's so weird and so random. But honestly, it was obviously a late game, so we couldn't watch it here. Or I had better things to do than stay up at 3 a.m. to watch a regular season game of teams that I don't support. But you wake up in the morning, you see what's flying around on social media. I did not mean for flying around to be used in that situation. There's definitely an unintentional kind of play on words as such. But what a fantastic thing to wake up and see. The joy that B-Man had given everybody. I saw a video of a cat on the sideboard near the television. And it was just watching bees. B-Man had a press conference and people were there. They were packed for it. He was being cheered. The B-Man was more popular than anybody else. But that's always fun to see. It's always fun. The Diamondbacks haven't been great, but Ketel Marte's been their MVP. Same with Jose Berrios. With the Blue Jays, mainly because the Blue Jays offense has been quite poor recently. Same as the Rays. They've given it to Isaac Paredes. Yeah, Rosarena isn't doing very well. Brandon Lowe is injured. Yandy Diaz. Paredes has been good, but they've been poor all around, so it wasn't easy to pick one. The Reds, Ellie De La Cruz, who I think has made a startling improvement this year. There was a period of time where he got a lot of hype last year, and was compared alongside like Corbin Carroll and Chance for Rookie of the Year, but he didn't really land. Whereas this year he seems to have grown into it a bit more, and he's become just an electric player. Through 28 games, he has 18 stolen bases, 7 home runs, and 18 RBIs. A fantastic player. The Red Sox are 12th with Tanner Hoke as their as their MVP. Again, a similar situation where it's like, okay, well, who do you give it to? There's got to be someone you've got to give it to. He's been pitching well. Cutter Crawford gets a mention, but not the best. The Twins are 11th. They've been given Edouard Julien. Slow start for them, but they seem to be coming back into their own. 10th, the reigning champions Texas Rangers with Marcus Semien. 9th, Bryce Terang with the Brewers, who we mentioned on the last episode. I don't know what we missed about the Brewers, but they've been sensational, in really good form so far this season. So I'm happy to see him get the recognition. Logan Gilbert of the Mariners is their MVP for the 8th place. He's been leading the rotation with a 2.03 ERA in 40 innings. He leads the American League in strikeouts with 44, 2 more than Luis Castillo, his fellow rotation mate. If the Mariners are going to do anything this season, it has to be because of their pitching. And so far, right, they had a bit of an iffy start, but right now they're on good form and they're looking in that position. They're looking to give people a good reason as to why they were named as the best pitching rotation in the league, let alone the American League or even the American League West, simply the entire league. And you're seeing it now. The Chicago Cubs are 7th. There's only one. There's only one person this could be. Shota Imanaga. What a player. What a player he's becoming. It's been the dream start, really. He's just been fantastic. They're 5-0 in his starts. Just a big fan. Stephen Kwan for the Cleveland Guardians. The Cleveland Guardians is 6th. Yep. I can get that. 100%. I can back that one. Ranger Suarez. Yep. Phillies 5th. Superb outing so far. Really enjoyed what I'm seeing from him. He's going deeper into games than anybody else. He's striking people out. For the first time in 4 starts over the past weekend that's just gone, he allowed his first run of the season. I love it. I love seeing it. Number 4, the Baltimore Orioles, the powerful Baltimore Orioles. They've given it to Gunnar Henderson. I think that's probably right. I think that's probably the fair result because having seen them play this week against the Yankees, they are going to be one hell of a team to come up against. At the time of this piece being written, he'd already hit 9 home runs, which was tied for the second most in the majors behind only Mike Trout before games on Monday. Henderson's 9 home runs are 2 more than any other player aged 22 or younger in the club's franchise history. That's according to the wonderful Sarah Langs of MLB.com. He was hitting 2 ace-8 with 22 RBIs and 960 OPS through 27 games. People like Adley Rutschman, people like Jackson Holliday have been given the hype. Gunnar Henderson was given hype. And he's excelled what people have thought from him this year. Or maybe he's performed as well as people expected him to. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, what a player he's been. We'll stay in the American League East for number 3, the New York Yankees. There's only one guy that you can give this to, and that has been Juan Soto. Every now and again, a team will bring in a player that just fits. Just fits the team, the fan base, the city, the uniform, everything. Juan Soto in the New York Yankees is that guy. Everything feels right about it, and he has elevated them to a far better situation than they were in last season. And let's be honest, they were so iffy last season that it wasn't really going to be a challenge. That being said, there feels like there's this different vibe around the team this year. As the piece here says, what the most surprising thing wasn't necessarily how far ahead Soto was, it was how far you had to go down before you get to judge. Because let's be honest, he just hasn't been performing well and something doesn't seem right. I don't think he's injured. Don't think he's injured at all. I just think he's just started off with a slump. And if you look at the pattern that is amongst baseball at the moment, there's a lot of players who are not performing well, who typically would. As we mentioned earlier, Randy Arozarena hasn't exactly hit the heights that people were hoping for so far this season. Yordan Alvarez is again, a similar thing where he's just not hitting the ball as well as people thought he would be. And he's not putting up the numbers people thought he would be. Aaron Judge is a similar thing. So rather than it being a Judge situation, I think it might be a wider spread issue amongst players in the league at the moment. Some power hitters just aren't doing it, and some players who usually perform well are not performing as well as people had expected them to beforehand. You see someone like Gleyber Torres struggled for a period of time. Anthony Rizzo struggled for a period of time. Second, I think my top three for the Yankees MVP at the moment, Juan Soto's first, Anthony Volpe is second. Carlos Rodon has been really impressive in the pitching rotation for the first part of the season. He's my third. Really enjoyed seeing what he can do. Clay Holmes has been fantastic. Alex Verdugo deserves a mention because he feels like the kind of guy that has changed the clubhouse feel a bit. And there's a reason people are now barking like dogs at Yankee Stadium. It's because of him and his post-game comments. I can't remember what game it was where he said, this clubhouse is full of dogs. Not D-O-G-S, D-A-W-G-S. Dogs. Ho, ho. That's what you're going to hear in Yankee Stadium every time they score. Can't believe I've just done that. I feel like I've embarrassed myself there. But in the context of this situation, I'm perfectly fine to be wearing this cap and barking in front of this camera. Number 2, Mookie Betts and the Los Angeles Dodgers. You could have made a bet. You could have made a case, rather, for Shohei Ohtani. 100% I would have understood it. You could either have given a good shout out to Tyler Glasnow. Mookie Betts has been probably the best player in the National League so far this season. And he is brilliant. He is a fantastic player. Apparently, it's one of the best Aprils a player has ever had, ever. And that's what you need to say about it. Mookie is Mookie. Mookie is one of the all-time greats. He deserves to be recognised as such. And even though he played for the Red Sox, I absolutely adore the guy. He's genuinely one of my favourite players to watch. And I think it also helps. He comes across as such a nice bloke as well. That goes a long way in these parts here. If you're a nice guy and you're playing well, you've got a special place in the heart. And we'll finish on number 1. The Atlanta Braves, Marcell Ozuna. Spencer Strider's out for the season. Max Fried hasn't been great. Ozzie Albies has missed time. Austin Riley and Matt Olson aren't hitting. Ronald Acuna Jr. is on pace for a far less interesting season than last year. But they're still that good that they still have the best record in the league. Ozuna's been fantastic. He's been putting up numbers that have been great, and he's not, I wouldn't say carrying the team because they've got a lot of stars in the team, but he's stood up to the occasion when everybody else in the lineup has been poor, or has been underwhelming, or has been injured, and they're probably going to win it all because they're that damn good. But to really cement this place as the dominant team in the league, the players need to come and bring their A game. Ozuna's doing it. You just need Olsen, Riley, Albies, Fried, Acuna Jr. to do it, and you'll see why they're the favourites to win the World Series again. So they have been the 30 MVPs for every Major League Baseball team so far this season. If you've agreed with any of them, let me know below, comment below. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, keep an eye on the short form platforms like TikTok for even more content, or just little shortcuts of this. I feel like I'm going to have a handful to deal with on this one. Stephen A., I'm coming for you. Not really, but this has been Let's Talk Baseball. These have been the 30 MVPs, or should I say the 29 most valuable players of the 30 Major League Baseball teams, and the one milkshake that has stood up above the rest to really take home the gold for the Chicago White Sox. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.